Hello, creative badasses. I'm Tasania Odette of TasaniaOdette.com and the Inspired Writers Tribe Facebook group. All right, today we're going to talk about how to bring more joy into your writing journey and your experience as a writer in general. I had this really awesome discovery call a couple weeks ago, and at the end of the call, she had realized that that's kind of what was missing. It was a lack of joy in the writing experience, and she wanted to bring more joy and play. And it was such an amazing revelation. And it's so true for so many of us that we need to bring more joy and more play in writing, because sometimes it can feel, it can go from a passion to this thing we think we have to do, or this thing that is just, focused on deadlines, or it can feel more like a chore, or it can feel more like a struggle than actually this fun, playful, passionate thing that it started as. So we're going to talk about how to bring more joy and play into your writing experience on a day-to-day basis. So let's get started. First of all, for those of you who don't know me well yet, I'm Tasania Odette. I'm a published fantasy author, and I am a mindset coach for authors. I like to use a combination of mindset principles, practical writing and publishing strategy, as well as some spiritual alignment to help you get over your fear and get on with writing your novel, because I believe that that is a really perfect combination for your writing journey. So anyways, writing and joy. So when we begin our journey as writers, it's because it's a passion. I don't know that many people who decided to be a writer because it's something they thought they had to do. Not many of our parents are like, man, I wish you would quit. I wish you would quit doctor school and go be a starving artist. Most of us grow up with our parents telling you, don't be an artist, get a real job, be a lawyer. And writing is something that's usually a little rebellious for us. Doing any kind of art is a little rebellious because there's a stigma around it. There's a stigma of the starving artist, and that, it's a struggle and it's this hard thing. But it's such a passionate thing. Those of us who have started a writing journey, it is usually a passionate thing. It's something that brings us so much joy that all the naysayers, can't really hold us back. We're, maybe we're a lawyer on the side, or we're a lawyer for a full-time job, but, writing a book on the side, or you're a full-time stay-at-home mom, and after the kids go to bed, you write your book. It's usually something that's done because you just have to. You just love to do it. And then sometimes it becomes this thing that does not feel joyful anymore. Why is that? It's something that we love to do. It's something that we rebelled against our parents, rebelled against the status quo, stayed up countless hours at night after our kids have gone to bed, or, woke up super early before we start our day job. It's something that we've, put so much passion into. Then why does it sometimes feel the complete opposite of that? I've found that writing can have joy just zapped out of it because of a few things. The things that I've found have been self-doubt, obsession with deadlines, up-leveling or self-sabotage, perceived failure, and comparisonitis. All of those things seem to be what zaps joy from the writing journey. And if you're on here, tell me what zaps joy from your writing journey. What things? Either comment in the live chat, or if you're watching on YouTube, comment in the comments. What is something that has zapped joy from your writing journey? Is it any of those things I mentioned, or is there something else for you that has made writing feel like a chore, or feel not fun anymore, not playful? So we'll get back into the ones that I was mentioning. Self-doubt. Self-doubt comes when, maybe you're writing and things are going really well, and then you hit a bump. You're not really sure what to do next. Or maybe you got some feedback from someone who said, they didn't really like the book. Or maybe you are having trouble trying to figure out what your next chapter should be. That can bring in some self-doubt, and you can start to think like, oh my gosh, is this really worth it? Am I really, should I really be a writer? Is my writing good enough? You start to question yourself, you question your worth, and you question your talents. That's something that zaps joy straight out of writing. Another one is, obsession with deadlines. Maybe you have started to write a book. Maybe it's your first book and you want to have it published by the end of the year, and things aren't going the way you thought they were. You thought you would have a book written in a year, and it is not working out. Maybe you are writing your second book, and maybe your first book was, smooth sailing, and your second book isn't going as where you thought it was. Maybe these are deadlines you've made for yourself. Maybe they are deadlines you've set up with an editor, a cover designer, or your publisher. Either way, having these deadlines, focusing on these deadlines can be something that can take joy out of it. Or even say that you have a goal of, okay, so I have to write 5,000 words a week and I have, X amount of time to do it. So 2 hours a day for a few different, 3 days a week or whatever. And you have that deadline, and let's say you're struggling to meet that deadline and you're focusing on that, and that's sucking the joy out because you're not meeting the goal that you had in mind. Another one is up-leveling and self-sabotage. This can happen a lot where things are going so well and you are just killing it, and then maybe you're about to reach this next level out of your comfort zone that you haven't gotten to yet. That it is, maybe it's a new stage in your writing journey. Maybe you've just published, maybe you just finished your book, maybe you finally got your first feedback. And the funny thing is, it usually happens after a breakthrough, after success. It happens after reaching this goal, this place that you want to be. And then all of a sudden, things feel like they're crashing down. It's like you get so high and then you feel like everything just falls out from under you. And a lot of that can be what is called an upper limit. So it can be when you are up leveling, you are stepping onto this new place, this place out of your comfort zone, and it's uncomfortable. And our inner, our ego kicks in, our inner protective mechanism that's like, hey, this is new, this is scary, I don't know what this is, let me keep you safe and bring you back down to reality. That's like this mechanism that we have within ourselves, and sometimes it's helpful when, we're walking through the forest alone and there's a rustling in the bushes and it's telling you to run, yeah, you should probably follow that. That might be a tiger, I don't know. But if it's happening when you are doing something like pursuing a dream or a goal, that mechanism is still going to kick in, but it doesn't realize that this is not dangerous. This is maybe scary. This is maybe new. This is maybe unexpected, but it's not dangerous. This is a fantastic opportunity. And a lot of times we can start to self-sabotage. We will be having this great week, and then all of a sudden we start snapping at, our partner. We, instead of writing, we're just like, I just don't even want to. We can start to self-sabotage, and that can take the joy out also. Another one is perceived failure. For example, I mentioned in a lot of these things, not meeting a goal or things not going the way you thought. And that can be perceived failure. And having a perceived failure, sometimes you can, overanalyze it, and you can start to think, well, that means that I'm not a good writer, or that means I'm never going to get this done. And you can see these setbacks that you've experienced, or maybe a story from your past. Like, what? I've never finished anything I've started. That's a failure. I'm a failure. I don't even know why I should do this. Or, what? I started this book 15 years ago and I never finished it. I haven't finished it yet. I should just, I'm such a failure. I should have written this book faster, regrets, things like that. That can suck the joy out. And one of the biggest ones that I can relate to lately is comparisonitis. That's when, maybe you think things are going really well for you, and then you look at someone else, another writer perhaps, who has more success than you, or a prettier Instagram feed than you, or they have more sales than you. They published their book, before, after you did, and they're shooting up the rankings while you're, way down here. That is, or maybe someone has a way nicer cover than you, or maybe someone's, their editing is super fancy or something like that. You never know what things are going to snag you, but it's so natural. And sometimes we do it without even realizing it. We compare ourselves to other people without even realizing whether or not, is that necessarily something that I was expecting for myself or that I want for myself. And that's the biggest one that I can relate to. I've actually experienced all of these things recently, especially after publishing my first book and finding myself in a whole new world, finding myself in a whole new territory of having reached a huge set of my goals, and kind of in that up-leveling place, that self-sabotage place that I talked about, where I reached a bunch of goals, and instead of seeing all the good things, I was kind of seeing all the bad things, or starting to feel bad about stuff, and it made me want to self-sabotage. It made me think, why should I even write the second book? I had a lot of self-doubt. I was stressing out over deadlines I was making for myself. I was doing the comparisonitis where I was like, oh my gosh, look at that person's Instagram feed. Literally, I would be depressed over an Instagram feed from another writer because theirs was so good and it was so much prettier than mine. And it's just the most ridiculous things. And then that would make me feel like a perceived failure. I would perceive it as a failure that like, oh wow, you know, my Instagram's not as nice, you know, I don't have as many followers, or I don't have as many newsletter subscribers. And it's just, all of those things can suck joy out of writing. And the funny thing is, none of those actually have to do with writing itself, yet they have the power to suck joy out of it. What the heck? So, how do you bring joy back into writing? We know, you know, why it happens. We know how we'd rather feel. So how do we get back into that place of how we'd rather feel, which is joyful and playful and having a great time writing, which is why we got into this. So the first thing, which I think is the most important thing, and it's something I've been reminding myself to do often, is to remember your why, and especially when it comes to why you are doing this for you alone. You know, a lot of times we know why we're doing this because, you know, I want to have my book published. I want my book to go out to millions of readers. I want to make people happy. I want people to love my work. I want people to, you know, just be joyful because they're reading my books. And a lot of times we kind of move away from actually defining why we're doing this for us. You know, it feels like, oh, well, I shouldn't, you know, I should be doing this for other people. The thing is, yeah, you know, you should always have other people and how you're benefiting the world around you in mind. But the number one thing is that you will benefit people the most when you are doing something that fulfills you. When you are living your purpose and you are fulfilling something that you deeply desire, that helps people not only because you're getting your product in the world, but you living your purpose is an inspiration to others, for one. You are, you know, just bringing more joy into the world. You are living your joy, which means you are bringing more joy around you. People are seeing you joyful. People around you are happy because you're happy. You know, that's just an example of why that's important. Plus, one of the most important things is when you focus too much on why you're doing it for other people, you become reliant on outside validation. That's where that comparisonitis comes in. That's where that, you know, that self-doubt and deadlines. You are looking for your worth to be defined by deadlines, by, you know, whether or not you have a good review, by how people are responding to your book, by how many sales you have, because you're focusing on why you're doing it for others and all those things. But when you know why you're doing it for you, and that becomes your main priority, those other things don't matter. Yes, they're important, and there's still things that you should base goals off of, but they are not going to crush your joy, because your number one reason why you are doing it is a reason that is for you. And that's going to be unique to everybody else. For me, when I define my why, I basically, you know, mine's pretty simple. I write to follow my joy. Writing is something that I've decided is the thing that I love to do the most. Out of all the other hobbies and interests I have, writing is my number one thing. I could do this forever. I want to do this forever. I love writing. I love creating new worlds. And so when I get kind of lost in, when I feel a little detached, when I start to feel this joy being leached from writing, that's when I remind myself of my why. I'll even take out my journal and I will just go on a big rant of why I love writing. I'll talk about, you know, my most favorite experiences, like those times when you're writing a chapter and you are just so in the zone that you have no idea what's going on around you. That's so much fun. Or when you have like a brilliant idea and you execute it and you get chills, when your characters get chills, you know, I'll journal about that. All these things that make writing fun to me, that make it this beautiful, juicy, playful thing, I write it all out. I remind myself of it, and I try to remind myself of it often. Having it written down or typed or even framed on your wall is a great way to keep your why firmly in front of you. So when you're having one of those days where you're just like, you know, is this worth it? Is this worth it at all? You know, I got a bad review. Someone said they didn't really like my book. Do you love writing? Does the act of writing and creating books fill you with joy? Then, you know, that will help you keep going and help it still feel fun. And yes, if you have a bad review, you can choose whether or not you want to use that as constructive criticism and, you know, maybe work toward improvement. But it's not going to crush your joy if you know that your joy is, you know, that what you are doing is fulfilling that joy. You continuing to write, whether or not people, you know, love it or hate it, you are living your why. So that is my number one most important thing, I believe, in keeping that joy with you at all times, is just knowing why you're doing that for you, and make it a good, juicy reason. Make it as selfish as you possibly can. Make it fun. Another one is affirm your truth and your worth. You are a talented writer. You are a creative powerhouse. And oftentimes, doubt can make us feel like maybe we're not. So affirming your worth and your talents. I write affirmations almost every day. I tend to have a list of ones that are important to me, and I will write them out every day. Sometimes I'll, sit in bed and put my hand on my heart and repeat them 3 times, or whatever feels good, whatever makes me feel like I'm keeping those affirmations relevant. I love affirmations, and affirming something like I am a best-selling author. That's one of mine. One of mine right now is I'm a best-selling author, because that's one of my goals, and I have to keep saying it and keep affirming it. And you can affirm things that are already true, but you're experiencing some doubt on. Maybe you're feeling like maybe you're not a very good writer, but honestly, you are. You're a good writer. You're talented. You're amazing. So affirm that. I am an amazing, talented writer. I am a creative powerhouse. I was feeling like I wasn't, I was scared that I wasn't going to be productive enough, or I was going to run out of creative ideas. So another one of my affirmations is I am a productivity and creativity powerhouse, because that makes me feel awesome. So, having some affirmations that you can either write down daily or, read and repeat, just things that kind of pump you up. It's, it sounds cheesy, but it really works. Even saying them in the mirror, a lot of people talk about standing in Wonder Woman pose. It's not really something I've gotten into myself, doing the mirror affirmations. I've heard they're amazing, but usually my daughter's home or my partner's home and I feel kind of weird, being like, will you guys leave the room so I can stand for the mirror Wonder Woman pose and talk to myself? You shouldn't be ashamed. You should do it anyways, but I'll get there. So anyways, affirmations, those are a great way to keep that joy flowing also. Another one that's really important is find ways to make your writing environment joyful. Either your writing environment or the time that you write, find a way to make it conducive to writing. Make it something that make you feel creativity. For example, if you write at your desk, what makes that desk feel joyful and pleasureful and playful to you? Do you like lighting a candle? Light a candle, maybe pour yourself some tea. I like to burn sage in my house because I'm all hippy dippy like that. If you're not into sage, you don't have to burn it. You can do candles. I have crystals. I love having my crystals on my desk. I burn some sage. Sometimes I'll light a candle. I like to have a clean desk, so if there's, dust or anything, I make sure I clean my desk. I organize everything, and I have my tea right here. That's my it's time to get ready to get to writing. If you're just starting out, you might need a little more than that. You might need something that feels a little more ritualistic, like you light a candle, you put on this writing music that gets you in the mood to write. It's a very specific album, or maybe just music in general. Just think about things like that. Maybe you like to write at night and you want to pour yourself a glass of wine. Maybe that's the signal that it's time to get into writing mode. Pour yourself a glass of wine, some champagne, have some bonbons on the side, have some donuts, I don't know, slice of cake, whatever you want, some bacon, whatever you do, you do you. Figure out what feels joyful and playful and makes you just feel so good and just gets those good vibes going. And especially if it's something that you associate with writing each time, so that it kind of triggers you like, okay, it's time to write and it's time for this to be a good, feel good experience. Another one, which this is very similar to what we just talked about, pre-writing routines. For example, if you write in the morning, think about things that you can do that get you in the right mindset. For me, I like to wake up and I do self-Reiki on myself, because I'm a Reiki practitioner, and so doing Reiki on myself is just something that I love to do. It sets me up for my day. Often I'll do, that's one of the things that has become like a non-negotiable. Even if I have to do a short one, I try and do that. I try and do a grounding meditation, or I try and do a quiet mind meditation, or I try to do one of those that you don't think. That's hard. It's so hard. The thoughts just keep coming in, and you breathe them out. You try and breathe them away, and just try and keep your mind still. I'll do one of those. I'll do a lot of journaling. I like to do a lot of journaling. In the morning is when I write down my affirmations. I also do them at night. But this morning routine is what I do before I get up. If it's on a day when I take my daughter to school or out to the bus stop, it's the morning stuff. Then I spend time with her, and then I come back and I, set up my desk. So having these pre-writing routines that get you into this, like, the calm mindset that, even if it's later in the day, maybe you take like a 5-minute meditation, or you do some prayer, or you do some journaling, or maybe a quick writing prompt. Think of things that sound fun, that would trigger you in a fun and enjoyable way to start writing, or to at least clear your mind and separate you from whatever you're doing before that maybe wasn't so fun. Maybe it was your day job, or gardening's fun though, I don't know. So whatever didn't feel so joyful, and then you're, try and get into the joy of writing with some kind of pre-writing routine. Think about that. Another one that's super important is celebrate your success daily. And this is one of the things that helps when you are obsessing over deadlines, or when things aren't going exactly the way you want. Think about your success. What did you do that was successful? And this is helpful even if it wasn't writing. Let's say you didn't get as much writing done this week as you wanted to, and you're feeling like a failure. It's making you feel like writing isn't joyful. Well, what did you do? Don't beat yourself up over the things you did wrong. Use those as opportunities to do next week better, but make sure you are celebrating what you did do. Maybe instead of writing, you spent a lot of time with your daughter because she was sick. That's being a good mom. Congratulations. Let's celebrate you are being a good mom this week. Maybe you took your son to a baseball game. Like that's super exciting. That's awesome. Family time. Maybe you got a new puppy, and that's, taking up some time. Congratulations, new puppy. Maybe you were binge watching a show on Netflix and it's really good and it's actually inspiring you to write, but maybe it took up a little too much of your writing time. You know what? Celebrate it. It's inspiring you to write, and you're probably going to be on fire next week. That's the thing. Find whatever you can to celebrate so that you feel good about the things you're doing, and you're not focusing so much on where you missed the mark. And anywhere you did miss the mark, just find a way to use it as a learning experience, not as a perceived failure, because that's when it sucks out the joy. So celebrate your success. Celebrate the goals you accomplished for the week. If maybe you're feeling like you didn't celebrate, or you didn't really accomplish anything this week, think about what you've done over the past month or the past year, or what you've done at all as a writer in your writing journey. Think of ways, anything you can, to make yourself feel successful and to make yourself feel like you are an awesome, joyful writer. Because that mindset is important. The mindset is what helps keep that joy going. And the last one is remind yourself of your vision for success, and keep that vision. And it should be a positive vision, not something you compare yourself to, but something that you are excited about. So whatever your definition is of success, and I always recommend having a definition of success, that what you consider your next step of success. So whether that's finishing your current draft, finishing your chapter, finishing whatever gives you more reasons to celebrate your success. Have those definitions and keep that vision in mind. Be excited about finishing that chapter. Visualize that. Feel how fun that will be when that's done. Visualize yourself finishing your entire book, your entire first draft. Like, how awesome does that feel? Remind yourself of why you are, what you're working toward. And then of course, have your huge vision of success and remind yourself of how exciting that is. Believe that it's possible. If your vision is to be a #1 best-selling author, and you're writing, 6 books a year, and you have 10,000 people on your mailing list, or whatever seems to be your biggest vision of success. And if that's too much, if you're not really sure about that, find where you are sure. If you know where you want to be in a year from now, like you want to have your first book published, or you want to have your first launch party, or you want to gift your grandma this book that you wrote about her childhood and you want to give it to her on Christmas. Think about that. Whatever it is that your goal is that makes you feel excited, keep that in mind, and even journal about it regularly, so it's something that keeps that excitement going. So that's pretty much all I have for now. Leave a comment, tell me what you think about this. Like, have there ever been times where joy has been sucked out of the writing journey or any kind of creative journey for you? And how did you get it back? How did you get your joy back? How did you get your groove back? And have you tried any of these tips before that have worked? And what would you suggest? What other tips would you add to this? Comment in the live video if you're in the live video, or comment in the YouTube video if you're on the YouTube. And that's pretty much all. Feel free to subscribe to the video. Join the Inspired Writers Tribe Facebook group on Facebook if you're not already. And also, if you are looking to tackle things like writer's block or lack of clarity, lack of joy in your writing journey, I do offer one-on-one help. I do offer one-on-one coaching. I do free 30-minute discovery calls, and I also have 3 different coaching packages, and they start at $111. So they start cheap. Cheap, that's a we don't use the word cheap. They start at a good value. There we go. So anyways, if you want to find out more, you can go to TasaniaOdette.com/coaching. And other than that, you can follow me on social media. I'm at Tasania on Instagram. I'm at Tasania Odette on Twitter, even though I don't really know how to use Twitter that well. You know, let me know if you got any Twitter tips for me. That's the one place I'm not that skilled at. And I'm on Facebook. My Facebook page is TasaniaOdette.com. No, wait, wrong. Facebook.com/TasaniaOdette. Yeah, words. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what other ideas you have for bringing joy into writing. And I hope you have a joyful writing week.